This episode is brought to you by Chefs Making Waves. Destination, New England. A 4-day food, wine, and spirits festival at sea. Presented by Sixthman, EBG, and A21. Sailing October 24th to 28th, 2025, from Boston to Portland, Maine, and St. John, New Brunswick, this unforgettable voyage brings fall flavors, picturesque ports, and world-class culinary experiences to the high seas with celebrity chefs, including Alex Gurnishelli, Alton Brown, Eric Ajapong, and Andrew Zimmern, for ship-exclusive curated dinners, cooking demonstrations, culinary conversations, and more. Plus, a premium beverage package is included. Reserve your cabin now at boston.chefsmakingwaves.com and taste the best of New England at sea.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Heritage Radio Network is supported by Visit Ithaca, where great minds meet the great outdoors. Check them out at visitithaca.com. Ithaca is known for outstanding dining. And here's a word from one of those great local businesses.
My name is Kukwa Jibodi Yomepe, and the name of the restaurant is Asempe Kitchen. I started out at the farmer's market, and the reception we received was so overwhelming that I thought it made sense to stay in the area. My goal so far has been to create some space for everybody who feels disenfranchised or feels like they're not represented to come together and have a place to be. So we have been working really hard to be more than just a restaurant. So like a place to just rest, get some really good food, and maybe some good conversation. We have community tables, and I kept the communal tables because of the way I feel about building community. The food is mostly vegetarian. It's from West Africa, mostly from Ghana. I'm originally from Ghana, West Africa. I've been in the U.S. about 30 years. On Sundays, we do a brunch, and during brunch, we offer meat as an option to folks who eat meat. I'm very much a purist when it comes to the food. I like to offer people the authentic, stuff.
To plan your next trip or to find out more information, go to visitithaca.com.
Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what kind of romance you're into, you don't have to choose just one. Fancy a dalliance with a duke, or maybe a steamy billionaire. You could find a book boyfriend in the city and another one tearing it up on the hockey field. And if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Discover modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, plus Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. And of course, all the really steamy stuff. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
I'm Peter Reinhardt, and welcome to Pizza Quest. 40 years ago, my wife Susan and I opened a bakery and restaurant on a low-trafficked road in a small town called Forestville, California. After we opened, I invited a successful local restaurant operator that I knew to come by and give us his thoughts. His first comment was, "Well, friend, you've broken the 3 cardinal rules of restaurants. Location, location, location. Hey, you should have called me before you opened here." Well, he returned the following year after we'd been discovered by the New York Times and the local populace and were packing in the crowds, and he said, "Well, you did break the 3 rules, but it doesn't seem to have hurt you, so I guess I was wrong, and I hardly ever admit to being wrong." Our guest today, Nkem and Kerrel Thompson, opened Bird Pizzeria just over 3 years ago and broke the same rules that I did in what might be called, to be polite, a sketchy Charlotte neighborhood not particularly known for its food scene. Almost immediately, though, a buzz generated throughout Charlotte that there was something special happening in Optimist Park. And now that buzz has extended globally due to the magic of social media, not only about their destination-worthy pizza, cited by the New York Times as one of the best in the country, but also for a kale Caesar salad that has exploded on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Social media is obsessed with their kale Caesar salad, with copycat versions popping up on Reels almost daily. Nkem and Kerrel Thompson, welcome to Pizza Quest, and please tell us, did you have any inkling that Bird Pizzeria, despite breaking the location rules, would become the phenomenon that it has?
Well, thank you for having us, Peter.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. This is amazing.
Yeah.
I've just seen a lot of these videos on social media. Like, what is Peter gonna?
What are we going to do? What are we going to talk about? Well, I had the pleasure of dining at Bird Pizzeria a couple weeks ago and loved it. Loved the kale Caesar salad, of course. In fact, I think that I'm thinking about starting a new podcast called Caesar Salad Quest, because I'm as obsessed with Caesar salad as I am with pizza. And you guys, kind of met that jonesing in me for a good Caesar. But we got to talk about all this stuff. But what was the plan? You guys had an interesting sort of lead up to all this, including, I think, didn't you spend a few months in Japan where you were influenced by what you learned over there?
Yeah, I think being in Japan for the 3 months that we were over there, it just encouraged us to just kind of go forth with whatever we felt deeply about doing. Because I felt like the way the demographic was like split in that society, there was like a lot of like makers, artists, and like independent business people, and then there was just a very like stark contrast of like a corporate demographic. And it was something more visible than like we had ever seen before. But it also looked like there was like some level of not contentment, but just joy, like satisfaction, and just like confidence in the belief of like what people were doing just independently versus like the bustling like other things that make up like that economy in the corporate sphere. So I thought that was like really cool, whereas like over here in this like American context, it's almost like a fight against the two. It's like people are questioning like, what the heck are you doing, kind of being a little bit more focused on something that is a little more like faith driven or like conviction based versus like getting a job, like starting a career in like in that like in corporate industry. So it was definitely inspiring in that regard for sure.
Well, how did you end up in Charlotte? Because you're not originally Charlotteans, and very few of us are. Those of us who live there. Whenever I meet somebody who was actually born and raised in Charlotte, I'm amazed. But you've had a little bit of a journey then. From, I guess you went to Japan right after your marriage. Like what was it, part of your honeymoon or shortly
Yeah.
after, and
Yeah.
then had some discovery moments there. But then where else have you been, and where did you originate from?
I'm originally from Chicago. Kerrel's from Cleveland, Ohio. We met in Cleveland, and shortly after we met, we moved to Chicago. So we were living there a couple years before we got married, and then went straight to Japan. Came back to Chicago, and we really started talking about moving at that time. And we just had our first son at that time, and we're just really drawn to moving for a number of reasons. But we weren't sure where. Charlotte was introduced to us by way of a church here that we had been following for several years before moving. And we were encouraged and just motivated to move to Charlotte, where we hope to find a good sense of community, and also knowing that it was growing really fast, and coming just from business in general, and an interest, and always having interest in growing things together. It seemed like a good place to try and try to do that. And at that time we said, hey, our son is 6 months old. If we hate it, we'll leave.
So this key word I think in that was community. I know that you're very community oriented and driven, And even the restaurant location for Bird Pizza, I was joking about it being sort of in a quote sketchy neighborhood. It's not, it's just only sketchy because there's not a whole lot of restaurants there, and you know, for a long time it was part of the mill part of town. They were the old buildings that are now being rehabilitated and turned into cool new spaces. The building you're in is one of those spaces. I even looked at that space about 10 years ago as a location for a pizza place then. And I was amazed and thrilled to find that even though we didn't take that space, that you did. But what is this sense of community that you not only are drawn to, but are kind of recreating around yourselves?
I would say, you know, coming from larger cities, um, it's really easy to, as much as you may think, because there's more people, you'll immediately kind of find that. Sometimes I think in larger cities, it's easy to miss that. And so we were at a place in our lives where, you know, we made that decision to, okay, we're getting married, we're going to grow our family. You know, we're looking for people that were, sort of in that same vein and also could maybe connect with creatively and different things. And so that was something that was definitely important to us, for that reason, but also because we're very much purpose driven. So I think that sense, that community piece is always going to be something that is relevant in any sort of conversation. And I think as we've grown in the community in Charlotte too, it's given us an opportunity to um, impact people on a greater level. You know, pretty much more than we could have hoped. And then also just in your reference to the particular neighborhood, I was thinking, you know, what really drew us to that area was number one, the architecture, being new. You know, well, we had been in Charlotte for what, 3 years or so?
Yeah.
Three years or so, before we found that location. But still very much getting to know different areas.
Uh-huh.
So even though we weren't as familiar with Optimist Park, in the beginning, and I think we had, depending on what street you take to get there, it did
That's
feel
right.
very sketchy. um,
It's
but
sort of where you are is kind of like on the way to a kind of a
yeah,
hip, trendy area called
yeah,
Noda,
yeah,
the
Yeah.
yeah,
artsy art district, and Noda sort of moving in towards Charlotte, and you're kind of halfway between Noda and downtown Charlotte, and
yeah.
it seems like Optimist Park area is next in line for kind of the next hip, trendy place. It starts
No,
with it usually starts with a good restaurant.
But
I think like moreover, like just to add on to what like Nick was saying, it's like there's a lot of things that exist like that it already exists like in community. I think we have always had the desire to kind of impact community as well and like just be a part of it and like grow things around things that like we really believe in. But it was sort of weird because, you know, here we are, like Nick was saying, like with a 6 month old, you know, with still like a lot of passion and desires and things to like want to do stuff like in community. Um, that like we wanted to sort of essentially communicate something that I guess we were just really unfamiliar with because you know we like the space that like we wanted didn't really like exist and I wanted to create something that was like very like family forward, not like really like hidden beneath like the identity of something, but something that people like immediately was like, oh, this is like all about their family, like maybe some of these, you know, like principles and ways that we decided to maybe run our business and just be so like family facing could possibly encourage like a younger generation to feel okay about the same things, you know, and kind of move a little slower and a little more intentional. So that was like our way. It was kind of like a trick in a way to like get us involved because I mean, I'm not gonna say there was a lot of things we were missing, but like, you know, we can't like do things in the same way, having like, you know, parental responsibility. You know what I mean? So it was a way to kind of keep everyone involved in this like family that we were like building. And that was like super important to me.
But Bird Pizzeria really started as a almost like a pop up, didn't it? I think, if I'm not mistaken in my timeline, I don't know, remember if it was pre-pandemic or during pandemic or after pandemic, but as I recall, when you opened, you weren't a restaurant then, weren't you? Kind of a walk-up, a sidewalk kiosk type restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I had been starting like I started sharing things on social media like years before. Um, and it was funny, people like make fun of me. They'll be like, "Yo, what the heck are you doing?" People even unfollow me. And then there was like a small
Because
group of
all
friends.
he would post was pizza.
Yeah, like all
That's yeah, the unfollow because all he was doing was making pizza.
it'd be like little
Right.
this
Yeah.
and then like pizza. But it was cool because like
Now it
it was
starts.
it was a journey. Like people kind of got a chance to see like where it started to like
Yeah.
where it is now. And I thought it was like cool to share that. I mean, I hadn't really dialed into like, creating like the perfect way of communicating via social media, but I thought like I was passionate enough about this that, it was worth like sharing because food is something that you share. So I think we had started like doing like, little dinners at our house with friends. And of like I did a dinner with like a men's group that we used to meet with, and that was probably like my like first big time like actually making like food for everyone.
Mm.
And it was well received, and I was like, really? And like my friend at the time, he was like with a serious face, as he was like eating this like piece of pizza walking away, he's like, bro, you got like a pizza anointing. And he like turned away. I'm like, what? I was like laughing. He's like, no, I'm serious, bro. You got like an anointing for this. And I just remember that because like, like no one had ever like really like articulated it like that. But he was
Yeah.
like so dead serious. And I mean, unbeknownst to him, man, that was like definitely motivating in a way to just like tap into just something that I may have not been fully paying attention to. Um, so yeah, it kind of like then trickled into being like, a full-fledged like pop-up that we launched during COVID.
That sounds like the Blues Brothers. You guys are on a mission from God now, with the anointing of your friend. But you're both from great food cities, Cleveland, Chicago, great cities. But were you in the restaurant business or did in the food service business before you started Bird Pizzeria?
No,
Not at
no. I
all.
mean, I had a small
That's a great.
I did a little I had a stint in restaurants before we launched Bird. But it was like, it was very short. It was very short. And then like COVID happened and that kind of, cut off that experience even shorter than I had expected it to be. But I loved it. I didn't realize that was, something that would resonate and just connect with like just my energy and some of my like skill set. Kind of like out the gates. It was something that really energized me, man, and like moved me internally, and kind of sparked a lot of intrigue and
It's
conversation.
it's interesting. So we've met so many people over the years that unexpectedly found pizza as sort of a pathway for them to find their calling.
I
Um,
wasn't working in pizza. It wasn't like pizza. It was just it was.
but
I
I
mean, I was
mean,
doing pizza, but like it was just the restaurant environment in and of
yeah.
itself.
But then it led you eventually to be making the pizza. So you were already in Charlotte before the pandemic, right?
Yeah, we
And
came here
then
in December 2016.
and had you already opened Bird as a walk up then, or did that come later?
No, we launched, as you mentioned, we launched as a pop-up October of um, a little before then, but yeah, like the last quarter or so of 2020.
Mm.
Okay. So was the pandemic already happening at that point?
Oh
Yeah,
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 yeah, it
yeah,
was
yeah.
Yeah.
full.
So okay.
Uh,
So
so
that's
this
a
this was at
pretty.
a time, yeah, when we launched, it was in a way good timing in the sense of people were just starting to gather in small groups. I think that's what was sort of allowed. So we were able to cook outside
Uh,
and to be close enough to each other to take an order,
uh,
or make some food. So
so
we
people
kind
are
of,
like walking up wearing face masks and everything
yeah,
else. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
Wow.
wore masks. Yeah, everybody was wearing masks, but I think it was really refreshing for people to have not just like this new experience, but this experience at a time where they're able to now meet with a friend that they haven't seen for a long time. So it really, I think, did something for our small community at that time,
Right.
um,
Right.
to be able to do that.
Well, before we dive into a little bit of the, you know, the which is the geeky part of pizza making that we want to hear about how you developed your pizza. I did want to ask, being from Chicago and and Cleveland also, which is one of my favorite food towns actually.
Thank you for
Were there
saying that.
any influences there at either of those places that kind of guided the kinds of pizzas and salads and things that you were going to do later on? Do you have a favorite, for instance, in Chicago? Because Chicago is a big pizza town. Uh, any favorite pizzerias there that you would go to?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like Chicago, it's funny. Chicago's a lot like Cleveland in a way. Um, because obviously there's an identity in Chicago with like the deep dish pizza.
Yeah.
And then you got like their like, a thin crust pizza that they do there. Um, so there's definitely like some distinctive styles, right, in Chicago. Um, but I still think there's like also other pizza that is like received in the same way and that has like a very strong like place in like that scene specifically. We used to go to like Peace Pizza in Wicker Park.
Uh-huh.
That was like our spot. That was like our Sunday ritual.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh,
We also had when we got married, we had
Forno Rosso.
Forno Rosso, yeah, cook pizza outside
Oh,
of our event space.
Yeah.
nice. Nice.
Neapolitan style.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're in like Harlem, I think, like right
Yeah,
like
they're off of Harlem, but they have since opened up a second location over on Randolph in the
in the West Loop.
yeah.
But yeah, Nick Nitti, he was like that was like the first like pizza chef I remember putting us onto game as to how he spent some of his summers, kind of in pizza masterclass. He said I have this group coming from Pennsylvania
Mm.
and it'd be X amount of money and I'm training them for, like I think like 2 weeks on like pizza making. I was like, this is cool. He's like a consultant and he's like working with, I never like heard anything like that. And like they do Neapolitan style pizza, but he goes to like Italy.
Yeah.
He goes to Italy every year and he makes 1,000 pizzas. You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
kind of like, like stay like proficient
Yeah.
in the craft. And then he comes
Exactly.
back and like runs his business. But then he's also like a consultant to help like develop like restaurants for other people outside of like the city too and outside of his business. So I thought that was like really cool and dynamic to sort of
Yeah.
get that information.
And just really like our earliest conversation with in person, someone who obviously was heavily involved in the pizza industry. So
Yeah.
Well, they plant those seeds in there, those experiences, and because and you came here and started developing your own style of pizza. It's definitely not anything like a pizza you'd see in Chicago. Of course, in Chicago you can find every kind of pizza, but I mean your pizzas are pretty unique. In the you on your website, I think you call them East Coast style, or some article you referred to East Coast style pizza, whatever that means. But they really are distinctively your own. They're not like any other pizzas here, even in Charlotte, that I can think of. There's, some people will have their New York style or their Jersey style or their Neapolitan style, but yours is really bird pizza. And by the way, we got to find out where'd that name come from. Why bird pizza? But let's talk about the pizza itself, how it developed and evolved, and the name of the restaurant itself.
I'm obviously gonna let him jump into that, but I did want to interject just to tie in. We talked about Chicago a little bit, but I think Cleveland really needs to be recognized in the sense of how much influence there is um from different cultures
Yeah.
in Cleveland, and that's something that distinctly, like, as we over the years had more conversation and just understanding his reference point has been really interesting because he has been, from such an early age, was exposed to so many different types of food
Yeah.
in a way that obviously Chicago is very diverse, but also segregated in a different way. So you have to kind of be a little bit older, I think, in Chicago to really be able to say, okay, I'm going to move over here and try this or try this or try this, like in a
Yeah.
much more intentional way, versus his upbringing just, being so, which he can get into. But I think that we say East Coast, East Coast style, but if you're able to try it, as you're mentioning, there's just so many different references that he has picked up in his nostalgia over the years that have been important to him to include in what is now our pizza.
Yeah, it's kind of your the connection to your childhood and to your youth and to your, the culture that you grew up in is going to manifest itself in the work you're doing today. So it sounds like it's in a way kind of a hybrid of all of your life experiences from Japan to Chicago to Cleveland, now to Charlotte. It's kind of synthesized into something uniquely your own.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think I think for the most part, you know, the only distinctive difference that like I understand that like I think is really clear now, opposed to like how it was like growing up was there was like the flavor profile from like a cheese perspective is like probably the most distinctive thing I could say that drove any of my direction toward like what I want like kind of like our pizza to mimic or sort of
Uh-huh.
and that was like really difficult. Even now I'm not like 100, I'm still not like 100% happy with it, you know what I mean, but it's because that's like something that I'm still always like chasing. But I feel like that distinctive, I just think to like what my wife was saying, it's just like a lot of fat and like butter and like just that, I'm really, like I love a pastrami sandwich, man. Like it's just I don't know, and for me that's like one of the apex foods in my
Yeah.
like my arsenal of like dishes that I personally just enjoy. And then obviously like there's pizza, and I just feel like it all kind of like fits into this comfort space. So when I just think about like those like really like strong, like comforting um bites, it kind of all plays into like the direction that I wanted to take with this.
Well, now as we dive into the weeds, so to speak, of how you developed your pizza, we always start here with the crust. And
Yeah.
so you've got your own unique crust. Again, it's not quite like anybody else's crust. I think it's got a nice snap, a crispness to it. It's not super bready, but it's not super thin. It's it's what it is. But how did it evolve, and what are your influences, and how did you sort of bring it about?
Well, I think you always want to figure out um I guess it's funny how it evolved was I realized through like trial and error how though just by making like kind of like pan pies, because what I used to do at home, it was hilarious. I never had I never had any like proper like cooking utensils. Like I never had any like proper baking trays. I never had
Right.
like a pizza peel. I never had any of that stuff. I had this one, I don't know where my wife got it. I don't know where she got this from. I had this one, I think she got it from a
Like
friend of hers.
an old roommate.
I had this, I mean, very old and beat up like cookie sheet, like
Uh-huh.
baking sheet. And that was essentially um that was my workhorse. And I used to just manipulate initially like I would manipulate like store-bought dough. I would buy dough
Right.
from like every single like from Whole Foods to all of the markets like Harris Teeter, Trader Joe's, like
Yeah.
every single, and even like there's like a little local shop here that like sells, some like Italian products, and they have their own dough. And I would just kind of like try to do different iterations of like their already pre-made dough. Like I would maybe one time like add more oil than the last time,
Yeah.
or I think the discovery for me, and the oil part was like really big because then I was getting like the proper like cook on the bottom of the pizza.
Hmm.
This is me baking it on like this baking sheet. But when
Right.
I would, like literally shellac it in oil, I was like, oh snap, it's frying. I'm getting like that fry reaction to the bottom, and now the bottom is looking like beautiful. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Still working with like, somebody else's dough. The other characteristics weren't quite exactly like to my preference, but I was really seeing that like, oh, that oil creates like a certain reaction to like the bottom of pies. And then time sort of like played into that. I started letting this dough like just kind of sit and sit on the counter and rise. And then it became lighter, and I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I'm not like I could have done a deep dive into like literature and maybe like cut off time. I purposely didn't do that because I just wanted to just be really
Yeah.
hands-on and almost just take notes from observation, which I did. I had like a field notes, and I wish I had the show. It's at home, but it literally has like every single thing documented from like day one.
Yeah.
Like
Your
27.
journal, the
Yeah,
journal of your process.
that's right. That's right. From those, from like the already ready-made dough to when I finally, like, I always joke out, not even a joke. I tell people all the time, like, I maxed out the potential of any dough in like readily available. Like I took like every single dough and just made it like the best possible that the dough could even perform. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
you
Based
pushed
off
it
of,
to, yeah, right. And
yeah.
that's
And
cool because it's like this discovery process that you're on. It was all internal. It wasn't like, okay, I'm going to take this formula that I read about somewhere else and just follow it. You actually became the formula.
yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, there were things that I took from those experiences to then when I finally then got into, okay, it's time for me to actually make a dough from scratch. Um, I kind of had a little edge on because I just had already observed like just performance, like I already observed like how like heat, or like climate impacts, fermentation and all those things. You know what I'm saying? So it
Yeah.
was like I was understanding a little more because initially, like kind of getting into it, there was things that I would read and I would just be like, this is just beyond me. Like I can't even, so I just have to like kind of come back a little bit to then
Yeah.
jump. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then just do it. You have to dive in and do it, learn from trial and error, really.
Hmm.
So that's how it kind of developed, and
Yeah.
then of course you were talking about this sort of never-ending search for the right ingredients for the best cheeses for what you're trying to do, and
Yeah.
that is obviously also. And I mean, you guys have only been doing this a few years, and you're already achieved quite a bit, and yet you're still early in your journey. Your journey of discovery. We call Pizza Quest a journey of self-discovery through pizza, and it seems like you are personification of that. You are in a journey of self-discovery, and pizza is a big part of that journey.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
obviously not the only part, because we before we run out of time, we got to talk about the Caesar salad thing. You clearly already were a good cook. You could cook at home. This Caesar salad, if I understand it, is something that came out of your just cooking at home, something you did for your kids.
Yeah, we when we started, we had two boys at the time. We now have a daughter too.
Wow.
But during that time, when we would make when Carell would make pizza at home, we would just make a kale salad with it. And
Because of health. We wanted to, that was like the veggie. And we
Everybody
wanted
was
to go
doing
really,
kale. We all were
yeah, we
doing
wanted to go
kale.
really hearty with it. We're like, we can't do any romaine or lettuce greens. That's just like water. The kale was like more chlorophyll,
Right.
more internal benefits. So we like went hearty with the green. And that's where the kale came from.
yeah, and yeah, I was gonna say, we are eating pizza every day, but also kale salad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. As long
So
as I can get that salad, I feel healthy.
yeah, and they would eat it, So we were like, I think we're on to something to get these kids not just to eat salad, but like kale, and really enjoy it.
So
So
they were like your beta test audience, your
yeah,
kids.
inadvertently, yeah.
And what's unique about your salad, and for those of you who are listening or watching, on the internet and just put a bird pizza, kale Caesar salad, and you'll see videos of how it's made. It's not like anyone else's Caesar salad. It doesn't look like anyone else's. It looks like a helmet with all sorts of breadcrumbs on top. It's a unique, one of a kind thing, and somehow
Yo,
it works.
Buckeye's helmet with
A
all the
Buckeye.
Buckeye.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the inspiration. Guys. If
There
you're
you
listening,
go.
go
Well,
Buckeye.
how do you so let me see if I get it a little bit, because the dressing itself, is your dressing. You figured out the Caesar salad dressing that works, but you massage the kale first, right? Do you massage it with the salt or with the dressing, or how do you tenderize that kale for the salad?
Yeah, we do it with like it's an oil blend that we use. And then we massage it down with just like salt and pepper. But usually before we season it, like we have to massage it to get you we want to get it to like a certain tenderness first. So that's kind of like where most of the effort comes in. And
That's a
then
lot of work, isn't it? I mean, especially when you're making now everybody who comes to the restaurant is ordering Caesar salad or one of your salad. You got another salad as well, but that's a lot of salad to massage.
yeah, we do. I mean, like,
We go through a lot of kale.
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. I think we now it's like about like 10 cases of kale a week.
Does it take a lot of massaging to get it tenderized to where you want it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
And I hope by now that
Yeah.
you've got
Yeah.
some good staff members that you're not the only one doing the massaging, right?
Yeah.
We do. Yeah, they hold it down.
Yeah. I mean,
But
like, because the thing about it is, I think most of the time there is a technique to it, and that can like help kind of like make the process more fluid. But I think if you are like trying to use a lot of energy, because a lot of people they get in there and they kind of jump around the bowl of kale, and,
Yeah.
and you don't really massage greens that way. You really got to put like a little bit of more effort and just kind of like slowly kind of roll it as you're massaging it. And then that'll break down the leaves a lot quicker. And then, varieties of kale changes, man. So sometimes like the curly kale, it's not curly, it's more of a flat leaf. And those are like a lot harder to like tenderize, right? So
Yeah.
you kind of like gotta set it and then come back to it and kind of roll in some more. Um, but but yeah, man, it took some dialing in. I think like the final product that everybody sees now, that was just that literally just birthed from almost being I guess I don't even know, like our first day of service, we had I don't think I had done it before. I had not done it before, but I was just in my mind, I was just thinking like, what I really, and again, man, this is not like selfish at all, thinking that like I feel or know anything, but I just feel like if the Lord puts it on my heart or in my head, it's something that like probably is good for everybody. Not because like of me, but because I don't know where this thought came from. And I'm just like, I'm gonna just go with it. So I just kind of like kept going with the cheese. And I'm like, this is how, and then it ended up being like something that was really appealing to me,
Well,
visually.
well,
And
yeah, and has your
you know,
friend anointed the salad now too?
bro, it's funny. I'm not gonna even tell you it's funny. I don't even think he's been to the
yeah,
restaurant.
Oh my God, he's missing out because that
No,
salad has been anointed for sure.
it is
Um,
that.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
well, so to finish that up, so after you massage it, then you toss it in the dressing that you make,
Yeah, correct.
and then when you plate it, you put, if I'm understanding it correctly, you do use some croutons, but then a lot of grated either grana padano or Parmesan cheese over the top, finely grated, and then on top of that are these toasted herbed breadcrumbs. Is that right? Is
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
and
we
that
like we do like we toast our own like house crumbs, and we there it's like it's essentially panko that's like broken up.
panko? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and to me that just makes more sense than and you see there's other people that do it too, but it just makes more sense than like a large crouton.
Hmm.
I don't like I like taking my time with a salad, but I don't like having to cut through
Yeah.
a big block of croutons to get it evenly distributed over plate of greens. So this way it's like kind of
Right.
already done for you. You know what I mean?
Well,
Hence actual like tossing in the dressing too. I
one
don't.
of you, yeah, and so that's the other part is the dressing. And of course, I know that you address some of the ingredients in it, but that recipe I don't think has been published yet. So we're not going to push you to try to tell us how you make your Caesar salad dressing. But it is classic. But I did want to ask: are there anchovies in your Caesar salad
There
in,
is.
in the dressing? Okay, because not everybody uses them, and I think that's really one of the keys to a great Caesar.
Sure.
But one of your pizzas is the Glory pizza, which is it's described in the menu as it's mushrooms, cherry tomatoes, uh, greens that have been spiced up, and then your creamy dressing. Is the creamy dressing the same dressing as the Caesar dressing, or is that a totally different dressing?
No, the creamy dressing is our house dressing, which is like a riff on just your traditional like ranch. And then
Oh, okay.
we kind of freak it a little bit as an homage to Outback, which
That's
you know
interesting. Cool. Well,
yeah, Outback they use like a little bit of cayenne in their dressing. That's why it's a little
uh,
like pink. Now things have changed, but that's what they used to do back in the day.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We kind of do our own a similar version. The consistency is a little thinner, but that's like the dressing that we add on top of those
So
greens.
you, in addition to the Caesar salad, you do have this house salad.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
does anybody order the house salad, or does everyone just go straight to the Caesar?
Oh, The house salad is if you know, you know. The house
Yeah.
salad is crazy.
Yeah.
I think
Gotta
a
get
lot of our friends when they come, like they're like, yeah, the Caesar salad, because they've been hit over the head with that enough.
yeah.
When they kind of discover the house, they're like, yo, this is the one. This is really like delicious. So yeah,
So when I come
really,
back, I'm gonna get one of each because like I said, I think for me, as a food category, good salads are still number one for me. I feel
same,
like
man.
you do. If I can get a salad in, then I can forgive myself for anything else that I eat. But
Mhm.
but it's not that easy always to find a great salad. And uh, there's somebody I was talking to. John Arena is one of our pizza mentors that we have on the show a lot from uh, Metro Pizza in Las Vegas. He was talking about going into a restaurant. I think it was like a wings restaurant or something like that, and somebody who was with ordered the Caesar salad, and it came out with a bottled Caesar salad dressing. And this guy is like a purist when it comes to salads. And he started trying instructing the the waiter on how to properly make a Caesar salad dressing, and the waiter is kind of like looking at him like, who, like I'm seeing your lips move, but I'm not hearing the words that you're saying, and they weren't getting it, in other words. And not everybody does get this, but when they've had a really great Caesar salad, it's hard to eat these pre-bottled Caesars,
Yeah,
and that's what you get most of the places. So I know that that's number one, and then but to find other salads that you can like as well. So I've got to try the new house dressing salad, or what do you call it, the house salad?
yeah, that was solid. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so the whole menu is built around pizza, salad. You do like what, one dessert typically a night, or two, oh, a couple desserts. I know that we had some homemade sorbet, and also was it an olive oil cake?
Yeah, lemon olive oil cake.
Is that always on the menu?
Yeah, with buttermilk ice cream.
With buttermilk ice cream. So, and you make the ice cream in house too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
That's
and
like
that's a
one
bit.
of my prized possessions, like the buttermilk ice cream. It's like um it's really good. That's like our new vanilla, if you ask me. That's like the baseline flavor for everything. Is that buttermilk, man.
Interesting.
It's just
Interesting.
fun.
Wow. Well, it's, to me, it's exciting that you're kind of feeling your way into it. It is a discovery process, and you've discovered a lot. Some of your things have now been officially anointed by, if you could say, if I could take the sacred and the secular and move them together, anointed by the internet, so to speak, as being a thing. Now, this is a global thing, what you're doing, but also that the community of Charlotte, in a very short amount of time, and it's not easy in this community here to break through and to be embraced by the community. You guys were honored in Charlotte Magazine as the persons of the year, if I'm not mistaken, in one of the recent issues. So
Mhm.
you've had a lot happen, over the last couple of years in this journey that you're on, and we always say that it's really more about the quest than it is about the pizza, and that the quest never ends. And it seems like you're still in the midst of that discovery process for yourselves.
Absolutely.
Do you see any new things coming? What are some of the things you're working on currently that would be sort of next steps in this journey?
Well, I guess like one of the things that I've been really uh like I've been desiring to do, but like the timing hasn't quite been right. It's just like just introduce like new things through our menu. Um and for me, I wanted to kind of like put out enough like runway of like what we currently do and expose it to like as many people as possible before like kind of we change, because I know like there's been like some like cool excitement around, just us opening and like kind of extending into like a dining room, and then we wanted that experience to be like very specific. I didn't want it to like in any way sort of like overlap with like what we do at our takeout window, because I think that's a very different and unique experience in and of itself. So that's why like our menu is pretty much like fixed as to what it is. But one of the things that like I have been desiring is to like finally like, switch that menu and actually just kind of like rotate in like some new pies, some new formats that like we've just been sort of
Mm.
working on, that I've been kind of like tinkering with. And then also like bump up our dessert offerings and like pastries to just kind of like you know, enhance some of the options and then focus on a little bit of more of the like the sorbets, which you like to have like a lot of fun with. So
Yeah.
like the future for that is literally just being able to like grow like our prep staff, which has been like a really big part of, developing everything that we can do like for service. So that like we can offer like some of the newer dishes.
I know that Charlotte has a very tightly knit chef and restaurant community. A lot of the this emerging food scene here in Charlotte has grown, out of a young generation of chefs who have all kind of know each other and work together and kind of embrace each other. Have you been able to connect into that community as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, people show up.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're showing up at your place, but are you getting to interact with them in some of the other events? For
yeah,
instance, breaking news here is they just announced that the next season of Top Chef will
yeah.
be filmed here in Charlotte. And I know the people that have been invited to be a part of that aren't allowed to say whether they have yet or not, but uh, I imagine that's going to be, again, the profile of this whole city is raising as a result of things like that, and because the chef community here is working sort of is supportive of each other. It's a mutually supportive community. It seems like that would be a perfect fit for you guys.
You want to know a quick secret before Nick says something? I was actually invited on Chopped, and
Oh yeah.
then the director left and was replaced by someone, and I never heard from them again. Never heard from them again.
Producers of Chopped, this is your chance to get back in good graces with Carl before he jumps networks. He may jump over to the Bravo
It's
network if
crazy.
you're
It's
not
crazy.
careful.
We're
You
like,
better act quickly.
well, this is crazy. This is happening, and they
Yeah.
they were fired, or I don't know what happened. They left. I don't
Yeah,
know, but
yeah. Well,
it
there's
was
a lot of
interesting.
turnover in that industry, that's for sure.
But what were you
Yeah.
gonna say?
I was just going to say, I think what we are most excited about in terms of what's happening in Charlotte is just like um, the pop-up food scene.
Yeah.
Um, there's some really cool young folks that are trying new things. And obviously like reminiscent of how we started, that we that make good food, and that we're excited about seeing grow and excited to support in whatever way we can. So that definitely has been cool to see. Uh, One, because obviously like it just adds value um to the culinary space in Charlotte, but also it feels more like, okay, this is like there's energy around this. Like people are excited, like, just kind of the things that we feel like are necessary of a big city. And so as Charlotte grows, it definitely has like its corporate space, but to know that there are other small groups of like one person, two people that are, just trying to get these ideas out in the food space is also very, very cool.
Yeah, well, it's great that it's unfolding for you. One final question before we kind of wrap things up here is you're in that unique building. It's an old, I don't know what it was before. It was some kind of a warehouse of some sort, but it was there were multi spaces in there, lots of units in there. There's tattoo parlors, there was bookstores, there was this and that. Now, the restaurants there, is there anything else going on in that building? And do you have any plans to expand into other parts of that building? Because it seems like there's still a lot of opportunity right in that one space to turn it into a multifunction community space.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of opportunity. I think that's necessary for that neighborhood to add value in amenities and for all the residents that currently live there. And as more uh, places are being built, people need a place to go. And so, yeah, we definitely see opportunity there. And that building it isn't technically historic, but we feel like it should be. There's you mentioned there's lots of it's a weird building. There's lots of different things there, or it's opportunities for things to be there. But historically, it's always been art incubator, small business hub,
Yeah.
so we're glad that we can that we've been sustainable and been able to draw some attention to it, but we hope that it continues to stay that way and lend itself for more opportunities for businesses to grow.
I find it's a cool building because it has all these little back passages. When you're in it, it looks like just one big building, but inside there's like the little corridors that lead into and secret. I think I told you I got locked in one day when I stopped there to see you, and I couldn't, and I somehow I got in, but I couldn't get out. But I had been in the building years before, and so I said, I know there's a way out here, and I just started following the passages and the tunnels, almost, the catacomb.
One of these doors is gonna get me out.
Exactly.
That's how it is.
It was like an episode of Scooby-Doo. But like I was just telling that story to Chef, and we were dying laughing. And it's funny because he took one of your classes at J-Woo. He's like, he loves you to death. But yeah, we were like cracking up about that. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Was that one of your chefs?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. Well, listen, we could go on for a long time, but I know you got a restaurant to open today. Bird Pizzeria is open from Wednesday through Sunday, correct?
Saturday.
Only Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4 days a week.
Yeah.
4 days. Dinner only. You open about 4 o'clock every day?
Our takeout window opens at 4. Our dining room opens at 5:30.
5:30, and it's not an easy reservation to get. You guys are booked way ahead, but from what I understand, you always have a few tables held open for walk-ins right at 5:30.
Yep,
that's right.
All right. Well, Bird Pizzeria, you can get all the address information, on their website, and Nkem and Kerrel Thompson, thank you so much. Congratulations on all your success. We're so thrilled to have you here on our show, but also to have you here in Charlotte. I feel like you found a home here. I hope you feel that this is a long-term home for you as well.
Oh, best city in the world, man. Seriously. Like
it's worked out.
Yeah, man. I'll go on a soapbox and say that like all the time. Even to my friends that like, are Charlotte natives, I feel like I give them even a little bit more encouragement and perspective about how really great this city is and how it's become, despite things that, maybe off-putting. Like, I think the city's incredible, man. So it's definitely home for sure.
Well, welcome. Thank you. And continued growth and success. I'll be back. I'll be back definitely, to try the other things on the menu that I didn't get to try on my last visit. And especially want to try both salads next time. And I'm going to bring some other folks in who like me are always on their own never-ending quest for the perfect pizza, the perfect salad, and just a great restaurant experience. Thank you so much for all you do. And by the way, your kids are adorable. By the way, I saw photos of them.
Thank you.
Congratulations on a growing family. It feels like you found your landing space here. So thanks so much for being part of that.
Thank you.
And for all of you who have joined us today, thank you for being with us on Pizza Quest. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.